The following is a conversation with Greener Village, this month's community partner. If you'd like to know how to partner with us in supporting Greener Village or learn more about the Impact Partners program, head to joyfm.ca/impact.
Hello, Joy community. This is Luke, the station manager of Joy, and I am joined by a special community friend, Alex Boyd, who is the CEO of Greener Village. Nice.
Happy to be here.
Yes, you are our community partner for March, which is a part of our Impact Partners program.
Amazing program.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And hey, you run an amazing organization. Greener Village has been a part of this community for a long time. How long?
40 plus years now.
Wow.
So actually we started in 1983. And at the time it was literally a closet in a church basement that the church said, hey, we need to help people in our community who are struggling. And that's the kind of beginnings of it, but it's grown consistently since the 80s.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one of the things you do, and this is what people would know, is Greener Village is a food bank. So let's talk about that, what people would know about Greener Village, that you are a food bank. What does it mean to be a food bank?
Yeah, so it's not what people may think of when they think bank.
Right.
You know, banks are somewhere you put money in, you take money out, and you do your banking. But it's not that. It actually ends up being a place where the community can deposit food, and they can deposit resources that we can then transfer to the people who are struggling and who are in need. The Greener Village becomes, if you will, the broker the community uses to get food from where there's an abundance to the places where there's scarcity. So people have access to food who would not otherwise have access to food. So by doing that, we are able to support right now over 2,100 families each month with food supplies that they would not be able to have the resources to go and purchase. It becomes a critical thing for people who are struggling with poverty, with food insecurity, and with challenges of coming to a new country or challenges with going to school and not having enough resources, are still able to get the nutrition they need to lead the lives that they want.
You said 2,100. Does that represent 2,100 families?
That's right. 2,100 hampers that go out to families in the community. So that represents almost 6,000 people. It changes somewhat depending on the size of families that are coming in.
To the size of the Fredericton area, 10% of the population.
Absolutely. We're looking at about 10% of the Fredericton population that needs our services each year.
I want to ask you, how has that number increased even in the last year, 3 years?
Yeah, if you look at it from a 3-year perspective, maybe 4, because 2021 is the stat that we use. From 2021 to 2025, the end of 2024, we're up about 115%.
Wow.
So it's more than doubled in the kind of 3-4 year period, which is not surprising when you look at the world. Distant wars that cause ramifications for pricing, mass inflation, unrest, different places that cause things to become more expensive. And for many people, they were just getting by. Living paycheck to paycheck or month to month. And then prices of gas went up by 30%. Groceries went up 40%. And all of a sudden, the person who was just treading water is now underwater. And that's what we're really seeing. More and more families that are gainfully employed, full-time employed, who still can't make ends meet because the prices just rose so rapidly.
Wow.
Obviously, very often, the pay didn't rise at the same level to match those expenses. So it was a challenging time. Got a number of people who they're in full-time education, so they're trying to better themselves. They're trying to get that degree so they can find good jobs, but struggling to have enough resources. When we saw a lot of the challenges around COVID were reduced job opportunity, still seeing that somewhat for some people that they don't have the ability to get the work they need to supplement the resources that they have to go to school. So a lot of people who are going to university or college who are coming to us for help to be able to continue to make go to school. And then people who are coming, newcomers to the country who are trying to understand the Canadian landscape, the Canadian culture, how to get food, where to get food, looking for community, looking for connection. So Greener Village that will provide that to them as they transition to living in Canada, which can be very dramatically different from where they may have been coming from.
Absolutely.
And there's a wide variety of people that come to Greener Village for assistance, for help in living that life that is that self-sufficient life, and we're here to help bridge that.
Amazing. I love that. These hampers are going out, and you talked about this is a place for the community to deposit and for you to help distribute. How do you fill your shelves? How do those get filled with all these items that you're giving out?
Yeah, so for a number of different ways. So the kind of primary way that we do it is with food donation. Using round numbers, let's assume that in 2025, we'll distribute $3 million worth. Of that $3 million, the vast majority of it will be donated food. So that'll be food that an impact partner, a church says, hey, we're going to do a food drive. We're going to give it to Greener Village so they can get it to people. So that food drive comes in through donated food. We also have food rescue partnerships with a number of businesses, farmers, food producers in the city that brings food in. We also have partnerships with the Food Bank Network, obviously. So that's Food Banks Canada, Food Depot, Montera, and Moncton. That are resourcing food on a wider scale and then distributing it throughout the network to the different partners that are local. So we bring in food from those sources as well. We take together all of the food donation sources. That equates to probably 70 to 80% of the food, or the food that we'll bring in, rather. And then have a budget that we take from our operating fund, so the money that we are out there raising in the community, and then we apply that purchasing power to ensure that we have consistent stock.
Yes.
The budget that we spend is on a few primary categories. So milk and eggs is number one. We don't get milk and eggs donated in volume to be able to provide it to every family, but having access to milk and having access to eggs, pretty important. So every week we're purchasing milk and eggs to make sure that every family is getting access to milk and eggs, unless they're plant-based or unless they're a vegan family, then they're not going to get milk and eggs because that would be disrespectful to their values. But for every family that wants those, they have access to those. The second major category that we buy food on is fresh produce. So we do get some fresh produce through our partnerships in food rescue, but not at the volume to provide 2,100 meaningful fresh produce kits. So what we do is we make sure that every hamper that goes out has apples, oranges, carrots, potatoes, an option of picking onions if onions is something, just so that there's access to fresh food. And then the final kind of major category, if you will, is the consistency we talked about. Food donations can be very different depending on the time of the year. For instance, December is a very strong food donation time of the year.
Right.
And we will bring in more food donations in December than we will distribute. It'll actually create a surplus that will help us in January. But come February and March, those food donations are at probably a low.
Yes.
And so we have two options. One option is we say, it didn't get donated to us, so we can't give it to you. And that's not, to us, a great option. The second option is much better. So what we're going to do is ensure that if there are dips in those food donations, we're applying money to cover the gap.
Okay.
The client comes in, they're not saying, oh yeah, the hamper you got last month, we're only giving you half of it this month because we don't have the product. No, we're out there actively, constantly purchasing product at the right price in bulk ahead of time so that there's never an option of running out of food, because you can't run out of food, especially for us. What we know is that food insecurity and challenges and poverty that surrounds food insecurity so often is a deeply uncertain place for people to live. You're literally scrambling for feeding your kids every day. And if you've come to a place where you've reached out for help, which is hard to do, it's hard for us to reach out for help. But if they've done that, come to Greener Village for help, the last thing we need to do is hand them more uncertainty. What we want to be, what we need to be for the people that we're helping is a place of confidence, a place of strength, and a place that says, hey, I know they've got my back. And for us, that's why we always are making sure that we have that product available, because otherwise we'd say, oh, I'm going to Greener Village. I don't know if I'm going to get a food hamper today.
Right.
Oh, I don't know if there'll be any fresh produce. And then, I might not get milk and eggs. None of those things wash for us in our corporate culture. So we work really hard on the back end to publicize the work we're doing, to market ourselves, to help people in the community know what's going on.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we require the deposit.
Absolutely.
We're going to distribute to clients. There needs to be investment into the organization so that we can do that effectively. So it really becomes extremely important that we do that well, as if we don't do that, then we have a hard time getting things to the people. That's what's the most critically important part of everything we do, is to ensure that we're sources.
I love that. And I think it's incredible. I've been in Fredericton for going on 9 years. And one of the cool things that I've seen over the years is the creative ways that different communities or these circles, businesses, organizations, neighborhoods can collect food. And it's not just, knocking on doors or hanging up door hangers, which I have seen. There's a Woodstock Wesleyan Church. They do that every year. They go around and they canvass the city as much as they can. And then they come back 3 days later and collect goods for the food bank there. But even here in the Killarney Lake area, I dressed up as Santa Claus many a year for a Santa Claus parade just for the neighborhood. And everyone left out canned goods and donating thousands of pounds of food. And there's all kinds of ways to support a food bank, to support food insecurity. And that's what I love is that there are ways for us to be creative as a community.
Absolutely. We've seen that. So some of the creative ones I can think of, the door knocker is a great one. There was a group of youth. It was a traveling youth group that did a conference in a different city each summer. And they did one of our most successful food drives ever. And they door knockered like whole South Side.
Yes.
And I think that was done through Journey Church, actually.
It was hosted at Journey. That was the Baptist, the Canadian Atlantic Convention of the Baptist.
I remember, but the success of that food drive was insane.
I remember
and not only did they collect the food from people, they were able to then bring it down to Greener Village, do a pre-sort of it. They gave time to, it was just immensely successful.
Yes.
It was creative, right? Like the door knocker thing hadn't been done widely here, and they had printed the colorful door knockers to say, hey, we're coming back on this day and we're going to be doing this food drive. I think of a church out in New Maryland that routinely does very creative food drives. How many miles of spaghetti came?
Wow.
So the pastor measured the length of the spaghetti. He averaged how many pieces of spaghetti are in a box.
Sounds like a Larry Matthews thing.
Oh,
Pastor Larry is very creative.
So
yes, I love that.
And he could tell, like one year he did how many grains of rice. One year he did how many miles of pasta.
Boatload of food in the fall.
So the creativity of it and the excitement that people get thinking, look how we brought in enough pasta to circle the globe or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Right? So there's lots of ways to get engaged and have fun doing it.
Absolutely.
And whether it's food raising or fundraising or volunteering, we don't have to be somber and unjoyful in helping up. We can actually experience the joy of putting our efforts to something that has a deep difference.
Yeah. Now, that's incredible. All of that work that we're talking about, the ways the community engages with it, but there is way more to Greener Village. So why don't you tell us about some of those other things, even the way, I want you to talk about this, I won't give it away, but the way that you partner right now with Food Depot Alimentaire to help distribute their program to schools, but also maybe what's coming in the next couple of years.
Yeah, it was pretty early, I think, in the organization's food bank journey that we realized how important it is to provide people food, but how also vision of food that would alleviate suffering doesn't necessarily dig into the root cause. It doesn't stop it from being an issue. It relieves the pain today. So in that way, the food bank network has very much been a tourniquet to save people from a really bad situation that could come, food insecurity. That kind of pain continues. And it's really hard when you're doing all this work and you're still seeing the problem persist. For Greener Village, what that has meant is always a look to say, okay, what other programming can we do that may have a deeper impact, that may give people more tools? So our mission is that our vision is that everyone has the resources they need to thrive. And our mission is providing food, clothing, and developmental opportunities for people on their journey to self-sufficiency. And so self-sufficiency is obviously where we want to see everybody, where they're able to stand on their own 2 feet, they're able to procure the food they need, they're able to cook it, they're able to enjoy it, they're able to do all those meaningful things in life. And unfortunately, not everyone's there. Our kind of mentality is, what can we add? What can we change? What can we do to get those opportunities stands beyond just providing food? So that's why if you come to Greener Village, you're going to well, it's currently being renovated, but our learning kitchen where people can actually get their hands on food under the tutelage of a Red Seal chef. He can teach you how to make better food with less resources. He can teach you how to take the resources that you use today and then use the leftovers to make a great meal again. He can teach you how to budget. He can teach you how to watch the flyers. He can teach you how to supplement black beans for ground beef so you get more out of your ground beef and still have a very enjoyable meal anyway. He can teach you all these little skills. And to us, that's life-changing. Because if you can learn how to become a good cook, be able to cook economically, cook healthy, cook a fabulous tasting meal, that's a skill that's yours. You can use that over and over again long after the food bank camper would have been exhausted. That skill remains yours. Our learning kitchen is geared up completely with that in mind. Our growing programs are the same, teaching people how to grow their own food, us producing food in our gardens for our clients, trying to get us back to the mentality of connected to our food. We've become, I think, society fairly disconnected from our food.
Oh, absolutely.
We're not creators of food. We're not producers of it. even sometimes we don't even process it. We just hit a drive-through or hit a pizza shop and hey, I need to put this fuel in my body, so let's just get that done and move on. But we really want people to understand that we should be connected to our food. It's the way we were made. It's the way that human beings were designed. We were designed to be connected to the food.
Absolutely.
So a lot of our programming is around that. We also have a number of seasonal programs or support programs that are outside the kind of food bank scope. So things like a Christmas angel tree, where we provide kids who are in need in our food bank. We do a school supply drive. Right now we're in the middle of our tax program.
Okay.
It's a community volunteer income tax program. So
amazing.
People can get their taxes done. If you don't get your taxes, of course, then you're going to lose out on some of the supports who are in the lower income bracket. So you need to get those taxes.
Absolutely.
We work with Depot Alimentaires network to provide breakfast programs. And I think we're currently in that we're delivering resources to each.
That's amazing. So
half the schools week 1, half the schools week 2. So they're ordering for Food Depot Alimentaire in Moncton. FDA is shipping it to us in Fredericton. We're then splitting it apart and getting it out to the school. We recently announced that we're going to actually be expanding that program into all the schools in Brunswick.
Oh, yes.
Fredericton will have all of the schools. Every school in Fredericton will have access for the breakfast program. The reality is there are certain things that we can look at very easily and say, hey, this activity is a cycle-breaking activity. Poverty is a vortex, it's a cycle that pulls you in and doesn't want to let you. And so we have to start breaking the cycle. Education is one of those things that breaks it. Strong family connection, cycle break. There are a number of things that we can look at and say, these things break cycles. So if we can support children going to school with nutrition, the right food, so they can do well, education, that has the potential to bring a cycle. That's what we need. Awesome. We need to really focus on those things, because that's thinking upstream, and we need to be having upstream than what we're seeing with poverty and food insecurity. So that's a really cool program that's been relatively new for us. We only started the breakfast program by 3 years. It's gone fairly well, and like I said, if it can get a teacher out of shopping on the weekend and focus on teaching, I'm for that. Our teachers have a hard job to do in the schools. And want to support them and the best results there.
Absolutely. Yeah, my wife is a teacher. And she
so
taught, she taught for 2 years in the public school, and it was a constant need for her to keep her snack bucket in her classroom full, because there was students who would come to school with little or no food, or would be hungry in the day. I love the synergy and some of the things that happen in our city, like this program through Food Depot Alimentaire, the Student Hunger Awareness Program through Community Kitchens, helping with the lunches and the weekend backpack program. It's amazing, but at the same time, I just keep shouting it from the rooftops, because I was like, Vanessa, is your school in this program? And I said, all it takes is one teacher to make a call and get involved in some of these things, or start the ball rolling. And then once it's going, it's such minimal work or burden for the school. You guys do so good in delivering these things, and it's easy enough for them to set up in a classroom in a day and have this go-to breakfast spot. And I love that, to be able to serve that. Yeah.
The reality is, if you add barriers to any program that make it more difficult for people to access, then you're doing a disservice. So we got to look at how you can remove those barriers and make it. So those are the things that we do now, and we refine them, and we continue to refine them as we go forward. Because one of our big mentalities at Greenville, constant, have this chip on our shoulder that we can never be good enough for the people. Yes, we can always be better. I think that's something that we'll never want to out of the mentality of. We want to always be saying, is there a way that we can make it better for the people struggling? The more efficient we are, the more resource we're providing, the more benefit to the people who are struggling, the better the outcome. So we continue to do those things well, and then that really has led us to our big project. That's the culmination of a lot of work over the past, say, 5 years, planning and business planning, and then capital campaign and all that sort of thing. So we're nearing the breakdown point for our big food rescue center. The idea there is, in Canada, approximately $30 for the food. So a staggering, almost incomprehensible volume of food that gets wasted because there's no market for it, or it's a little ugly. They don't want an apple with a color spot on it. They want a nice bright red apple. They don't want a pepper with a weird growth coming out the side of it, even though the growth exactly the same
Right.
as the rest of the pepper. So a host of food is shipped to landfills or plowed back into the ground or ends up as cattle feed. The reality is there are people in our community who are struggling to provide food, especially that fresh, healthy food.
Right.
And so the Perishable Food Rescue Center is specifically designed to capture large volume food donations that currently the network's not capable of absorbing efficiently.
Yeah.
So currently, if we get a large scale fresh food donation, it's really, okay, we got it. So let's push it out the door as fast as we can. If we have to give clients 50 pounds of carrots at a time, we just pounds of carrots, which isn't a good use of resource, but it's the only thing we can do. So the Food Rescue Center would be able to capture that product, process it into frozen product, and use that frozen product for a period of time. Meaning you can give, instead of giving a family 50 pounds of carrots, you could give them 2 pounds of carrots for 2 years.
No.
It's too many carrots.
No.
We're not
Never tried.
We're not Bugs Bunny. But the reality is that this will help us to eliminate some of the food waste we're seeing in our times. It's another partnership with Food Depot, Almonte, and Moncton to create product in our Food Rescue Center that then goes back into the network and will feed food banks all throughout the province. So
that's awesome.
it means that food banks from the North Shore down to Moncton will all be getting access to food that we've created here in our Food Rescue Center. That's shipped to the network. So pretty excited about that project. It's getting very close to being a reality. I'm looking forward to the groundbreaking and seeing the contractors get to work on that.
And that's happening this spring.
This year, once we get the snow gone, which we're all, I'm sure, looking forward to that snow being gone. But we got a lot of work to do to get that building up and running. And then we're partnering, as I said, with Food Depot, Almonte on the distribution side. Food Banks Canada is adding staff specifically to help us to procure the food, to get it in. So it's really a partnership of the entire food bank network, from the national level right down to the local level. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is like the coordination it takes to pull something like that off. And I love the recognition on a large scale of the value of it. And you've had some large provincial maybe support, but as well as like corporations seeing the value in a system like this.
It has been, and kind of amazing to think of New Brunswick or Fredericton as the leader on this. Our friends at Food Banks Canada say there's no center like this that's connected to the food bank network like what you're describing. The reason that they're partnering is because it becomes a template. You can say, hey, this model works. Let's see if we can get one standing on the prairies. Let's see if we can get one standing on the West Coast. Especially if you can match the major distribution channels in the country with the major food creation hubs. If you look at the country, you can map out where the best places for distribution. You can usually do it by following the pillars. They all have distribution hubs in certain places because that's where it makes sense. And those places are often very closely aligned with where we create our food. Southern Ontario, the greenhouse belt, prairies have all kinds of lentils, all kinds of. If you can create the right center, that's tapping into the right resource, distribution chain. Then you're going to create a lot of synergy with what's already existing. And so the food bank network in our mind can become a network that's breathing that food in and out. We can say, yes, but if we also have excess, we can get that back up to the network and it can go to somewhere else that's the scarcity.
That's awesome.
So at the end of the day, if Greener Village in Fredericton has a fantastic food hamper, but a food bank 100 kilometers away is struggling, we basically just created hey, great Fredericton, but Fredericton, tough luck for you. That doesn't. I mean, we want to have a network that is working for all the people who are struggling.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's incredible. And I've heard lots of stories of some of these really rural areas and these food banks that they do get blessed through the network now. And it's the reason that there maybe 12 families a month or there are 30 families a month get what they get. And it's those 30 families have just as much value at 4,100 or 2,100 a year a month, right?
Absolutely. I'll look at it that way.
Yeah. So I do love that. Now, I want you to talk a little bit about the volunteerism and that culture at Greener Village.
Yeah. So there's almost nothing you can say to how amazing our volunteers are. Like, we have a passionate and dedicated group of people who routinely give their lives to us. Like, they give their time. Like, time is the most valuable thing we have. It's finite, limited. We only have so many days on this earth, and there are people who routinely say, you know what, instead of chasing my own career ambitions or my own comfort or my own time with family,
Yeah.
I'm going to instead give it, it's a profound gift.
Well,
And thousands of hours every year given. We estimate that if we had to replace volunteers with staff, we'd have to probably triple our staff.
wow.
There's so many people come in and
Oh,
give their
yeah.
time. And so obviously that'd be very
Oh, yeah.
I don't even want to think about how you accomplish that, but people give their time because they believe
Right.
in what we're trying to accomplish. They believe what we're trying to accomplish in a food bank, but they also believe what we're trying to accomplish with our support program around the food bank.
Yes.
So we have many volunteers who come in and they start volunteering in one department and they see what's happening in the department. Oh, maybe I'll add an extra day and volunteer there too, because they believe in the mission.
Yeah.
And it's a big thing for us to make sure that people are engaged with that mission. We want them to feel that fulfillment. We want them to be happy coming to volunteer.
I think when I walked through the facility with you, you were telling me the story of a new volunteer who had just moved to Canada and he hadn't found work yet. And so I don't want to just sit at home while I'm looking for work. I want to give something back, practice my English with the other volunteers, meet friends, new Canadian friends. And I was like, what? That's for somebody to just step into a whole new place, right? Whether they move from across the country or across the world and say, I'm going to get plugged in the community in a way to give back. Like that's a great opportunity.
Yeah. Unfortunately for us, he didn't stay very long.
I'm sure he got hired.
He got hired quite quickly. And partially that is, his particular set of values and the way that he was looking at things.
Yeah.
But also it doesn't hurt. They always say if you're looking for work, it's better to look for work while you have work.
Yeah.
So if you're volunteering or even if it's a volunteering work, people say, what are you doing? Well, I'm spending my time volunteering. That comes with certain, okay, so this person can work in a team, take direction. And it does help, right? So if it's something that maybe you're just coming to the working age, volunteering is a great way to build build some life connections, and you will develop relationships with people that will last. If I'm walking down the mall, I have seen Greener Village volunteers hugging each other because I haven't seen you. Like there are people who may not be volunteering anymore because their circumstances changed,
right?
But they still have the connections from when they volunteered together.
Oh, that's awesome.
It is lasting friendships and lasting connections. So
right,
but that's all part of the building the community.
Yeah,
and we have to look at it that way.
Right.
We look at Greener Village as a community building organization as much as anything else, and we do that. We're trying to do that for our clients. We're doing that for our staff. Obviously, we're doing that for our connection. What we want to do is also invite the broader community to that relationship too. Even if they can't volunteer, they don't have the time. There are ways to engage with the Greener Village community as part of what we are.
Yeah, definitely. As we wrap this up, I really want to highlight some of the opportunities. And one is as a part of this Impact Partners program, our community here at Joy, our listeners, but also churches here across the city. We have several churches involved in this program, businesses. To highlight Pure and Simple is one of them, and their general manager, Glenn Urie, has been super engaged. And so we're going to be activating them in March to collect these needs that you have. And so that's one way that people can engage with you, and I love that. But there's another thing that we're challenging people, and it's to go and look at your website, to look at the volunteer opportunities, but also if you're saying like, maybe I'm not in a place where I can give my time regularly, you have this incredible network of events on Eventbrite through Greener Village. And you can come and sign up for a Bread Monday to come and learn how to make bread, which you're learning a skill, but you're also making bread that will be given in the hampers to your community members, right? So I love that you guys do things like that and that the opportunities are so plentiful. You can go there and help in that clothing store with household items and very client facing. You get to talk to a lot of people if you're social. I think there's so many opportunities across everything that you do. Even as the weather warms up, there might be some opportunities to get your hands dirty in the garden and things like that. So I really want to encourage people that there is opportunities at Greener Village to get plugged in, even to take one of those opportunities to just come on Bread Monday and see what you do. Walking through the halls of Greener Village and seeing the volunteers, how passionate they are, how connected they are, but also to see the community being served is something truly special.
And I would encourage, obviously, I always encourage people to just find connection.
Yeah.
Reach out. And then, of course, the other thing we've talked about food donations. We've talked about the financial donations, how we use those to employ staff and to buy food and to pay for those operating needs. We talked about volunteerism quite a bit. But we didn't talk about the kind of fourth big pillar that I talk about a lot, and that's share the message. That's what Impact Partners is all about, is sharing the message of people in our community, organizations in our community that are helping others.
Yes.
But it's a good challenge for your listeners. Is there a place, a time in my schedule this week where I can just talk about Greener Village in public?
Right.
And have a conversation where I'm sitting down to coffee with a friend of mine, and I was like, hey, I was listening to the radio, and I heard all about this. I was really blown away by whatever. And you can't measure impact constant conversation about an organization like has on you. It is unbelievable. How many times I've gone and talked to someone and it's like, oh yeah, I heard about what you guys do.
That's awesome.
We need people talking about it and not let issues in our community become hidden.
No.
We have issues in our community. We don't have enough food. We have people who are living in homelessness. We have people who are facing significant struggles. Partner violence. I'm looking at your impact partner.
Yes. All the organizations.
There are issues.
Yeah.
We do a disservice to everyone when we put a bushel over it.
Absolutely.
And so talk about it. Talk about what you're hearing. That's going to lead you to action. Even if it doesn't lead you to action, it may lead a casual listener who just catches a glimpse of your conversation to action. Right. And I know of a specific happened to our organization where a couple were having coffee and talking about what their local food bank was doing. And a person overheard something and said, that's amazing. Can I write a check?
Wow.
And the check they wrote was $50,000.
Wow.
So
that's so cool.
these things happen.
Right.
But they only happen when people are talking.
Yeah.
So just literally chat.
I love that.
So if you can't do the donation, you don't have can't do the volunteering because you don't have the time.
Right.
If food donations outside of what you're able to do right now, every one of us can have that one conversation.
Yeah.
If every person who listens to this has one conversation about Greener Village this week,
right,
that will have a marked impact.
I love that.
I can't measure it exactly, but I know it'll have an impact for Green. The same thing that we do with our faith too, by the way.
Yeah, that's right.
As we share it with people, we talk to people, then has a reverberation effect.
No, that's right. I love that. Thank you so much for that challenge. We all have some type of light to share. And if we don't, then the world stays dark.
Yeah. And we all have it. Not that there's not a single person who in some way have an impact.
Is there anything else you want to share with us before we go?
I think.
Thank you, Alex.
This was fun.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate the impact that Greener Village has in our.
Oh, but thank you.